It's Super Wildcard Weekend in the NFL playoffs, the first round of the NFL playoffs. And here at DFSG Plus, we've got you covered for the betting market. On this show in particular, we'll cover touchdown props. So if you wait just a second, we'll drop that intro and get into my 4 touchdown props for Wildcard Weekend. Welcome back to the DFSG Plus YouTube channel. We try to keep your viewing experience for the NFL season as entertaining as possible. Give you some extra things to kind of keep track of and watch as you're watching your NFL football any given week. On this show, we cover touchdown props. We like to try to target those guys who are going to find the end zone on any given week and give you a little added fun for your viewing experience. Now, I always like to preface each show by just illustrating that these aren't even really suggestions. It's more or less just research I've done for plays of my own, guys that I've got a little bit of money on for this week. And if you like my case, perhaps you might feel swayed to tail any one of these. If you like any other guys for this weekend, please throw them in the comments. I love to hear what other guys are looking into and other angles to kind of consider as well. So without further ado, let's jump right into our 4 plays. We've got 4 guys who I feel are going to find the end zone this week. We'll start off at the top and kind of work our way down here on the illustration here. So we've got Romeo Doubs coming in first with an anytime touchdown price at plus 220. He plays at the Chicago Bears this week. Chicago, who has allowed the second most touchdowns to the wide receiver position so far this season, actually during the regular season, with 21 touchdowns allowed to the wide receiver position throughout 2025. They've also allowed the 7th most yards to the wide receiver position as well, so this just bodes well for production all the way around to Green Bay wide receivers. And the Chicago Bears secondary is super vulnerable, and they lead the league in turnover differential as well. But they are missing a big playmaker in C.J. Gardner-Johnson this week, so that's going to kind of put a little damper on their secondary. They do get Kyler Gordon back, but first game back off of his second stint on the IR this week. Not really something to write home about for this Chicago secondary. He's not quite the big playmaker that C.J. Gardner-Johnson is. But Doubs, on the other hand, is the team lead in red zone targets for the Green Bay Packers. 17 of his 85 total targets on the season have come inside the 20. That's 20% of his overall looks during the NFL season have come within the 20-yard line. And of these 17 targets, he's caught 10 of them and converted 5 of these catches for touchdowns so far this season. This is nearly 3 times more targets than even the second favorite for the Green Bay Packers, which is Christian Watson, with 6 targets coming inside the red zone. Last time these two teams played, Romeo Doubs went for 80-plus and a score. In the game prior, it was Christian Watson who found the end zone twice. So there's some opportunity here for the Green Bay Packers pass catchers in this matchup against Chicago. I feel like we should target Doubs and the red zone favorite in this matchup against a vulnerable Chicago secondary. And with Watson and Jacobs likely being the focal points for the Chicago game plan, it feels like a good opportunity for Romeo Doubs to score in Wild Card Weekend. Again, plus 220 on that price. Now we're looking at Trevor Lawrence with an anytime touchdown price at plus 185 at home against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have been generous to mobile quarterbacks so far this season. They've allowed the 5th most rush yards to the position this season. They've also given up 4 touchdowns on the ground to opposing quarterbacks this year. They haven't played many mobile quarterbacks, but they have allowed a handful to score. I think it was Lamar Jackson in week 1, Drake May, and one other that was able to find the end zone this season. Trevor Lawrence has found some value in the rushing game as well. With 9 rushing touchdowns on the year, he's only behind Josh Allen himself, who's just obviously on the other side of this ball. Another good candidate, just not a good price on his touchdowns. But check this. When Jacksonville gets in real close to the end zone, they almost prefer to use Trevor Lawrence. He's got 10 rush attempts inside the 5 to Travis Etienne's 11, who actually leads the league in touches inside the 20 on the ground. He's got 5 touchdowns to Etienne's 2 touchdowns. He's even more effective when they get in close. and as almost the preferred lead back when they're inside the 5-yard line. Trevor Lawrence and his 9 touchdowns so far this season, kind of looking pretty good in this matchup against Buffalo. So I love that touchdown price for Trevor Lawrence at plus 185 against a vulnerable Buffalo defense who kind of lets QBs kind of do what they want on the ground. Now we've got Dallas Goedert with an anytime touchdown at plus 175. He plays at home this week against the San Francisco 49ers. There's hardly any studs left on the San Francisco defense. Injuries have been killer for them this year. On the year, the 49ers have given up 10 touchdowns to the tight end position, which is the 6th most in the NFL for 2025. This is ultimately a defense playing with super glue and duct tape holding this team together. But would you believe me if I told you that Dallas Goedert actually leads the Philadelphia pass catchers in red zone targets? Yes, his 15 targets inside the 20 is more than A.J. Brown's 13 and Devonta Smith's 11 targets inside the 20-yard line. He's far and away the most effective receiver when this team gets in close. And of his 15 targets inside the red zone, Goedert has scored on a whopping 10 of his 13 catches when the team gets in close. That's an incredible 67% touchdown rate when he's targeted inside the 20s. Very efficient. Philadelphia should have their way in the open field with San Francisco, which means that they shouldn't have any trouble getting into scoring position. And if they can get in close, we ought to get a healthy opportunity for a touchdown here for Dallas Goedert in Wildcard Weekend. Now to wrap up the show, we've got Nico Collins with an anytime touchdown at plus 140 against the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. On Monday Night Football, Houston takes on the Steelers, who have given up the 8th most touchdowns to the wide receiver position so far this season. 17 touchdowns allowed to the wide receiver position. They've also given up the 5th most yards to receivers as well on the year, which just bodes well for the leading receiver for Houston in Nico Collins. And especially in a primetime matchup, Nico Collins is a big play specialist. Regardless of matchup, he can break a huge play at any point. And we're not necessarily targeting the red zone usage, although he is a team lead in targets inside the 20-yard line with 18, and he's converted 3 of his 8 catches for touchdowns. But it's the big playability of Nico Collins combined with the vulnerability of the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary, giving up the 4th most air yards on completions so far this season. So this feels like a bread and butter spot for Collins to break off a big one for us this week in Wildcard Weekend. So that's going to be our 4 plays for the touchdown prop show this week. And Super Wildcard Weekend, we'll wrap it up one more time with Romeo Doubs with an anytime touchdown at plus 220, Trevor Lawrence with an anytime touchdown at plus 185, Dallas Goedert with an anytime touchdown price at plus 175, and then Nico Collins to wrap up the show here with an anytime touchdown price at plus 140. We missed on him last week, but I'm hopeful in a big-time matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers on primetime that Nico Collins is going to get plenty of attention and should make this game pretty interesting against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's going to wrap up the show for essentially week 19 of the NFL season, the first round of the NFL playoffs. Tune in to our other shows here on the channel. Sebastian and Derek do a great job of hitting the props, hitting the prop markets, and giving you guys some good props to bet on there. And we'll be here throughout the entirety of the playoff run. So stay tuned, and we'll see you back next week for another edition of the Touchdown Prop Show. Good luck out there. Bet responsibly, and we'll see you next time.